Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now it is time to introduce our main speaker for tonight, Frank.
I'm Frank Jones. I'm an alcoholic. I want to thank John for asking me to come and participate at the meeting. It's good to be here. It's good to be sober, and you've heard this probably at a lot of meetings you go to. As if Alcoholics Anonymous didn't work, I wouldn't be standing here tonight, because I'm not going to stick around someplace that ain't working and it ain't fixing me and it ain't helping me. I ain't staying here. And I got to tell you that I want to wish the happy birthday folks and thank him for his 10-minute talk. And if these 12 steps didn't work, also I wouldn't be here. Glad I stuck around AA long enough to find out that if I put some effort into Alcoholics Anonymous, I'll get something out of it. I don't put an effort into it, I'm not going to get anything out of it. When I got here, I didn't believe in God. I sat in the back. I didn't pay attention. I didn't listen. I thought I was cool. I wanted to be hip, slick, and cool and have all the women love me, and I wanted diamond rings and big clothes and a big fancy car and a big house and a big title, and I'm glad that I stuck around to find out that those things really don't mean anything. What means something is that I got a quiet head and a calm stomach. I still have a problem with the second step, with insanity. In the last 8 months, I have a 12-year-old stepson now, and we put a half pipe in the backyard for him. I'm watching these kids zip up and down off the top shelf. I said, give me the board, I can do that. They said, you're kidding. I said, give me the board. So I got up on the top shelf and the board was up, and I stepped down on it and that board shot out like a bullet. I didn't. And I fell and I hurt myself. I really hurt myself, and I laid there a minute, and then I thought, I know what I did wrong. I didn't lean forward enough. I said, give me the board, I'm going to do it again. My wife said, go get the phone so we can call 911. I got back up on the top shelf, the board come up, I put my foot on it, I leaned forward a lot this time. The board shot out like a bullet. I went up about 6 feet, fell flat on my back. 2 hours later, I'm in the emergency room. I've lacerated my kidney, my bladder, and had a 4-inch fracture in my hip. I still look at the skateboard and think I can do it. You don't get well here, okay? 2 months later, I had a heart attack. About a month after that, I was playing fast pitch softball at the yard, and I swung and hit a baseball and tore 2 tendons off my elbow. They reattached them with screws. I'm okay. I'm going to tell you one thing. You go through life one time. And I ain't here to look good. I'm here to have fun. I hurt myself having fun, but that's the way that goes. You got to pick a tab up, and so I do. So I still have a problem with the second step. That's just me. I have no reason for being an alcoholic. I mean, I don't look like an alcoholic. I mean, look at me. Now look at the folks sitting around you. They look like alcoholics. That's right. I come from great parents. I was born in Danville, Illinois, and Mom and Dad were married to each other 50 years. They weren't alcoholic. They didn't abuse me, mistreat me, put me in a closet, chain me to the bed. They didn't beat me. What they did is provided me and my two brothers a good home to grow up in. They set an example. They taught us right from wrong, and that's not why I'm an alcoholic. Come into Alcoholics Anonymous, I did that inventory, read it to my sponsor, talked about my defects of character and my shortcomings, and I found out some things about me growing up I didn't think about. I don't analyze my childhood. It ain't a big deal. Hell, I'm still in it. And but I found out growing up that I lied all the time because it's easier to lie than it is to tell the truth. When you're a liar, you can be anything you want to be. I've been a truck driver, an airline pilot, a dentist, a gynecologist. I've done it all. I stole things and gave it to people so they'd like me, and it's easier to steal something because when you leave the store, you got the item and your money, you're a double winner. I like that. I cheated because I don't want to work hard and earn anything. Give me, lend me, can I have, let me borrow, do for me, help me out. Because I'm lazy, I'm self-centered, and I don't want to do anything. That didn't make me an alcoholic. First time I had a drink of alcohol was at a party in Danville. It was a hot summer night. All the guys from the ball team was there. I played sports in high school and had a scholarship to go play basketball at a university. And all the guys from the ball team were there and our girlfriends. And my girlfriend brought me over a big iced tea glass full of slow gin with 7-Up in it. I didn't know what slow gin was, never heard of it, but it was red and it had ice in it. I took a drink of it and it tasted like strawberry Kool-Aid, and that was my drink of choice. I love strawberry Kool-Aid. So I chug-a-lugged that glass of slow gin and 7-Up down, nothing happened. I gave her the glass, asked her if she'd get me another one. It was my girlfriend. She brought another one. I drank that down. I didn't put on a wrinkled trench coat, throw a bottle of wine in a paper bag, and shoot to Skid Row. I didn't talk to my high school counselor saying, hey, what do I got to do to be an alcoholic? I want to speak at Rodeo some night. God, Jesus, there's a claim to fame. And I wasn't drinking for the taste or the effect or what alcohol was doing to me or for me or the things I've heard at this podium. I was drinking for one reason and one reason only. All my buddies at the party were drinking. I wanted to fit in with my buddies. I wanted to be part of that fraternity and the brotherhood. And I thought if I drank like those guys, I could have the fun they're having. They're hugging and munching their girlfriend in the corner, dancing and laughing. I can't do any of that crap. I'm self-conscious, self-centered. I don't want to dance because I don't know how. I don't want you to make fun of me. I don't want to talk to you. You're going to think I'm stupid. And I thought if I drank like my buddies are drinking, I could do what they're doing. And I drank almost a gallon of slow gin in about 30 minutes. One after the other. It wasn't no big deal. Nothing happened. Now, about 20 minutes after I put the last glass down, I found out where slow gin got its name. Got drunk as hell, went into a blackout, got taken home that night and passed out. And the next morning when I come to, I'm puking up everything I'd eat and drink at the party. I had a terrible hangover, a terrible headache, and something else was funny. I couldn't remember how I got home. I didn't know what a blackout was. Didn't know until I came to AA. A blackout, I was told by the old timers, when I consume alcohol, I go out and do whatever it is I'm going to do. The next morning, I'll have amnesia about all or parts of that night. They told me that's an indication I had a problem drinking. I didn't know that. I thought everybody at that party drank and felt and did and had the results that I had. I didn't think about it. I didn't turn into a blazing alcoholic after that and get the shakes and study how when I didn't drink. I drank when I could get it. And when I drank, I got drunk. When I got drunk, I got in fights. Why? Because I'm full of fear. I didn't know that back then when I was in high school. I didn't know it was fear. I thought that's just what macho guys do. And I started getting in trouble. And about 2 weeks before I graduated high school, I got this scholarship to play ball, and I got a committee that talks to me now. And my head says, what if you go to that college and you don't make the team? What if you don't get grades good enough to stay on that team? And what that did is fill me with fear. I didn't know it was fear. I thought I just didn't want to go to college. So I made a keen alcoholic decision. I quit high school. Made sense to me at the time. Can't go to college on a scholarship if you don't graduate. So I quit school. I'm drinking with the guys 2 weeks later, and I had another keen alcoholic thought. I joined the Marine Corps. If you're a wimp and a wussy and afraid of the dark, don't go in the Marine Corps. Join the Navy. What can I tell you? But I'm on a train going up to Chicago to get sworn in, and I'm full of fear. I'm homesick. I'm lonely. The train ain't moved yet. I'm sitting next to a guy in a black leather jacket with zippers and doodads and chains on it and ducktail haircut and long sideburns. This guy's going in the Marine Corps, and I want to hang out with him in Chicago because I'm afraid I ain't never been to the big city. I want to hang out with him. He's drinking out of a little brown bottle. He asked me if I want some and to fit in. I said, yeah, I'll take a drink of that. Turned it up and chug-a-lugged 3 or 4 big mouthfuls of it. I don't know how you drank whiskey at the age of 17, but I'll tell you what I did. I sprayed that crap all over the seats in front of me. I had whiskey coming out my nose, my eyes are watering. I felt like a wimp sitting there, and this guy's laughing and looking at me funny, and I hate that feeling. And I wiped off my face, and I handed him the bottle, and I said, you know, that's pretty good. He said, you want some more? I said, I can't breathe. Damn. I drank to fit in and to be a part of. That's all. I got sworn in and they sent me to Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. I went through boot camp homesick and afraid. I can't tell anybody about those feelings because I'm ashamed of that. And I learned to put a facade out there. And I sucked it up and made it through boot camp after a struggle. And they put me in the infantry at Camp Pendleton. The Cuban crisis happened in '62 and we went down the coast in a convoy through the Panama Canal. And we're going to war and I'm full of fear and I can't tell anybody about that fear. I'm ashamed of that. I don't think men should be afraid. Nothing happened there, and we come back through the canal, and I went to the Far East for 13 months, and the first night we unpacked our gear, and the guy said, hey, Frank, we're going into Ville and get drunk. You want to go with us? Now, I don't know how many of you have been in the Ville, but the Ville is cool. It is really cool. And I said, I'll go into Ville with you, and we go out in the Ville, about 6 or 7 of us. We bought a Typhoon 5th of sake, and they're passing that bottle of sake around. They're doing the male bonding thing that macho guys do. They're headlocking each other and shit and punching each other and doing knuckle push-ups in the gravel, and they're ooh-rahing, and I like that stuff. You know, and that bottle got to me, and I chug-a-lugged 3 or 4 big mouthfuls of it, and I don't know how you drank sake at the age of 17. I sprayed that crap all over their shoes. I got sake coming out my nose, my eyes are watering, and these other Marines are standing there laughing and pointing at me. I hate that feeling of being humiliated. I just hated that. And that bottle come around again, and I chug-lugged some more, and I threw it up again. And I learned something that night in Okinawa. If you're going to be an alcoholic, you can't let looking bad bother you. You got to hang in. I think that's important. You know, and I hung in. And, you know, I kept drinking it and holding a little bit down and throwing it up, and it tasted terrible. I finally held enough down, and I don't know what alcohol did for you, but I'll tell you what alcohol did for me. I looked at those 5 or 6 Marines I was drinking with there, and I realized something. These guys are punks. Why am I hanging out with these sissies? Alcohol worked for me. I became an army of one. I left those guys. I went out drinking on my own, and I go in a bar, and me and a Marine are drinking and shooting pool. He's from a different unit, and he said something that evidently offended me, and I hit him in the face with a pool cue. Now, I seen it in the movies. It looked cool. But he's laying there bleeding, and they're calling the military police, and I don't want to get locked up. I don't want to go to the brig. I'm 17-year-old, and I knew I shouldn't have done it, and I feel that guilt and that shame you feel when you've done something really bad. And I run out of that bar down through the alleys in Anoka, and I go in another bar, and when I get in there, I order a shooter and drink it, and a beer, and I drink that. And the more alcohol I consume, something funny happens. I don't worry about going to the brig no more. I don't care about picking a tab up. I start bragging to the Marine sitting next to me about hitting a guy with a pool cue. That's how I get when I drink. And then I look down at the end of the bar, and there's a Nason sitting there. Now, I'm a sucker for a pretty face. Women have been able to soak me for every dime I've got my entire life. It's just another 12-step program. And she slid up next to me, and she asked me to buy her a drink. And being a nice guy, I bought the young lady a drink, and then she started telling me this sad story about her mom that needed surgery. And it broke my heart. And so I gave her some more money. And we trudged the road of happy destiny to her hooch. And, you know, I'd like to stand here and tell you we had such a great time, she probably still remembers it to this day. It was over too quick for me to remember it. And I was embarrassed and ashamed, and when she went to clean up, I just stole my money out of her headboard and set her house on fire. It made sense at the time. And I just went back to the base, and I passed out, and the next morning at Reveille, I come to, and I'm puking up everything I'd eat and drink that night, and I'm sicker than a dog, and I have no recollection of what had happened in the Ville that night. And the guys are telling me the MPs are looking for who hit the guy. Now that guilt and that shame comes back, and the fear of going to the brig comes back, and then they told me about a fire in the Ville. And my father hadn't raised me to act that way. Like I said, in 50 years of marriage, I never heard that man raise his voice to my mother. I didn't know how I was going to make that right. I was really ashamed of that. And I found out a secret that morning in Okinawa. I opened up my locker, and there was a bottle in there with a big red dot on it, and that's called Akadama wine. I took that bottle of wine down that morning and screwed the cap, and I chug-lugged some of it, and I didn't throw it up. So I drank some more of that wine and went out to formation, and by the time that formation was over and I walked back in that barracks, something funny had happened. My headache's gone, my stomach settled down, I didn't have a hangover no more. And now I don't know what that tells you, but what that tells me is if I drink in the morning, I don't have to be sick. I went back to that locker, got the bottle of wine out, poured some in a canteen cup and started drinking it. 20 minutes later, I'm bragging about hitting that guy with a pool cue. And I'm bragging about setting that woman's house on fire. You see, when I drink, everything I do, I think it's cute. Everything I do, I think it's okay, or I wouldn't have done it. That's what alcohol tells me. Alcohol tells me anything you do is okay. I never do anything that I don't think is okay. And I don't care when I'm drinking about picking a tab up. And I don't care about responsibility. I don't know about you. I don't care about paying my bills on time. I don't care about being faithful to my wife. I don't care about responsibility. I don't care how I treat people or whose life I walk through. What I care about when I drink is me. I am the mighty I am. And I don't care one lick about you or anybody like you. I care about me. I became a morning drinker and a daily drinker at the age of 17. All my money went on booze and women in the bars, and I became a bar fighter because I'm full of fear and I'm too light to fight and too thin to win, and I developed a technique of ambush. And they had big glass bottles back then and the big thick glass ashtrays, and I made a stripe and they took it away from me, and then they restricted me to the barracks and the base. And if you'd have walked up to me over there and said, you know, Frank, every time you drink you get in trouble, I could have looked you dead in the eye and give you reasons why alcohol ain't got nothing to do with any of this. This is the only disease in the world that will kill you, and your head will always blame something else for anything going on with you. This disease will convince you you don't have it, and it will kill you eventually. And you could not convince me alcohol was a problem. If that guy in the bar hadn't said that to me, I wouldn't have hit him with a glass bottle, so it ain't my fault, it's his fault. He needs to learn to communicate with people in public. It's his problem, not my problem. And if the duty NCO hadn't said, shut up and go hit the rack, I wouldn't have smacked the duty NCO. He needs to learn communication skills. So it ain't me, it's them. And when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I blamed everybody for all my problems. It's my dad's fault. It's my mom's fault. It's my brother's fault. It's the wife. It's the kids. It's the job. It's the police. It was everybody but me. And the old timers in my home group snapped me up and said, do you want to see what the problem is, Slim? Go look in the mirror. The 12 steps in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous are made for you to work, not the people around you. Your wife don't have to work this program, your kids, the boss. You have to work this program and become different. And if you don't change, you'll drink again. Because the person that walked into AA had to drink to live out there in that world and act the way they were acting. And so they said, if you don't change, Frank, you'll drink again. And I'm glad I heard that. I'm glad that I heard that because I'm still here. I ended up getting in a lot of trouble. I perceived the cab drivers over there had their meters fixed to rip us servicemen off. And I decided to get some of my money back from him, and this guy didn't want to give it to me, so I beat his face in with a rock and he almost died. And I was in a lot of trouble, and they put me in the brig, and my dad flew to Okinawa and met with the commanding general and paid for the guy's surgery and paid for his retirement, gave the cab company money, and I just begged the Marine Corps not to throw me out. It's the only thing I knew how to do. I'm 18-year-old now, and wasn't the way it is today. This was 1963, and after my court-martial to get the papers through to get me released from that brig, I spent 337 days locked up. And if you'd have told me it was behind getting money to drink on, I'd have told you that ain't true. I was just getting back what they stole from me. They sent me to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I went through Illinois on my way down there. And I met a girl out of high school and married her and took her down to North Carolina with me where I was stationed now. And she wants me to stay home and be a husband, and I'm a bar drinker. I like the intelligent guys and the beautiful women. And I don't know what you do to get out of the house, but I tell you what I did. I'd start a fight with her and make it look like it's her fault. And then we're having a cuss fight, yelling and screaming at each other, and I can't drink in a noisy place. So I got to get the hell out of the house. And so now I'm out in the bars drinking in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and some guy'd say something. I'd hit him with a bottle or an ashtray, and they'd call the Jacksonville police, and I'd leave that bar. I'd go in another bar, and guys like me got to be validated. And so I'd lock eyes with some honey in the bar, and her and I'd trudge off to her place and do what we got to do. And then I'm laying in her bed sobering up, and I'm starting to think, and you should never drink and think. That's a bad deal. And what I'm feeling are the feelings you feel when you're unfaithful and you're a liar and you're a cheat, and I can't go home and look at that woman now. I stop in a bar on the way home and have a couple of shooters and a beer, and my head says, this is just what guys do. This ain't a big deal. So I go home, and I walk in, and she says, where have you been? I hate that question. Now I got to lie to the woman. I wouldn't be a liar if she hadn't asked that question. So it ain't my fault I'm lying. It's her fault for asking that damn question. And then we were having a cuss fight, and I come into AA and I found out my wife's none of my business. It's not my job to tell her what to do, how to dress, what to cook for dinner, how to clean the house. My sponsor told me if you don't like what your wife cooks for dinner, cook your own dinner and shut up about it. My sponsor told me if I don't like how that house looks, clean that house yourself, Frank, but keep your mouth shut about it. She's evidently happy with it. I had to learn in AA what a relationship was. I had to learn that as two people with mutual respect, and I needed to treat her the way I wanted to be treated. And I didn't know that. I thought I had to be the boss. That's what macho guys are. And then we had a kid, and I don't know how to treat kids. They cry, they make messes, they break shit, they crap in their diapers. I mean, no human should do that. And I'd shake her and I'd throw her in a crib and the wife would get on me and she's crying and the kid's crying. And I know I'm a bad father, and the only thing that takes the feelings away of being a bad father is a couple of shots of whiskey and a beer. I come into AA and I found out kids are little people. That's what kids do growing up. They make messes, spill things, move stuff around. And I had to learn not to raise my voice in the house. My sponsor told me the only time you touch your children is when you're going to put your arms around them. I had to learn that in Alcoholics Anonymous because I didn't know it. They told me to clean my language up. They told me that my wife and my kids don't deserve to hear the language that I used to use in the bars. He said, when you run around firing off the F word and everything around women and kids, you're a mental midget trying to express himself forcibly. I had to learn in AA to clean up my language. I didn't know that. I had to be taught that. I had to be taught that by the old timers. I had to change. Then I got called into the CO's office and he issued me a rifle with a telescope on it and live ammunition. Sent me across the ocean to a place called Vietnam. Vietnam ain't my problem. It's never been my problem. My problem is standing in the middle of my wardrobe right now. I get to Vietnam at 67, 68. I'm up at Quai San and Con Tien. I'm full of fear. I can't tell anybody about that fear. I'm a sniper. And I'm scared. And I found out a secret in Vietnam. 151 proof rum. You put that in your canteens and drink it, you're bulletproof and invisible. Now what I can do is go out and show everybody in my platoon and everything what a tough man I am. And I did the things I thought I had to do to show everybody what a badass I was. And I did a lot of bad things to a lot of people. I'm not proud of that. That's where alcohol takes me. I don't know where it takes you. Maybe you just burned your croissant this morning. I don't know. But that's where alcohol takes me. And I can't change those things. I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I found out I can't undo them. I can't change the things I've done in my past that I'm ashamed of. I can't undo the things I've done to other people. What I can do today is try not to treat people the way I used to treat them. Try not to act the way I used to act. Try not to do the things I used to do and react to my perceived misperceptions. And I'm not always successful at that. I'm still intense. I know you can't see that, but I am. And I'm not a wonderful human being today. I am a human being. I hear people stand at this podium and they walk into an AA meeting and you hear them sharing, they say, I'm a completely different person than walked into AA. And I think, what the hell did you have, a sex change? How in the hell did that happen? I am not a completely different person because I'm over 28 years sober. What I am is a person that tries to keep his emotions in check and quit reacting to every thought I have. I'm not a good husband or a good father or a good man because I'm over 28 years sober. I don't float with God hand in hand 6 inches off the ground, and I'm not wonderful. I still have the same feelings I had when I got here I have today. I just don't react to them. I don't know about you, but I still got lust and greed and sloth. I got all that crap. I just don't let it overtake me to where I react to it all the time. And when I make a mistake today, I make amends immediately because that's what the 10th step says. I'm a good AA member. I try to do what AA asks me to do. I never say no to AA. I got commitments in my meetings. I still go to 4 or 5 meetings a week. And I do Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm a better husband and father and man today than I was 28 years ago. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be a little bit better than I was today. But I just can't undo any of these things I've done. And what happened was I got blown up over there during the siege at Quai San. I got wounded. Come back to the States. I get out of the hospital. My wife wants me to stay home. I want to get out in the bars. I want to talk about that crap because it's important. And we're having a cuss fight and we're drinking. And I told her, if you don't shut up, I'll kill you. And that woman don't believe me. And I went and got a gun out of the closet that I had left home with her. And I come back in that kitchen. I said, if you don't shut up, I'll kill you. And my daughter's standing between my legs pulling on me, telling me don't shoot her mommy. And there's a lot of chaos and screaming going on. I'm trying to get the safety off that gun. I hit a pin at the base of the receiver and I pushed that pin in. It was a firing pin and the gun went off. And the bullet went through my hand and down between my legs where my daughter was standing. and that bullet didn't hit that little girl. And I'm a blessed man for that. I could have accidentally that day shot and killed my wife because she ain't doing what I'm telling her to do because I'm the boss. That's where alcohol takes me. I don't know where it takes you. Shortly after that, she divorced me. I couldn't believe it. I fired one shot. I shot myself. I have the hole. Alcohol tells me I'm a good husband. I don't know what alcohol tells you. Alcohol tells me I'm a good father. I don't know what alcohol tells you. And when she took the kids and left, I drank. And I was a drill instructor in San Diego. I hazed the recruits. I fought in the bars down there. And after about 2.5 years, I had a keen alcoholic thought. I need to go back to Vietnam. That's where the macho guys are. And I volunteered and went back to Vietnam for a second tour. I was in the infantry this time, and again, all I did is repeat my bad actions from the first time and did a lot of bad things to a lot of people. And what alcohol did for me over there then was save my sanity. What I got to tell you is I got shot up in an ambush and the second time, and I come back to the States, get out of the hospital, and Marine Corps wants me to come back after lunch. I can't do that now. I got to drink because there's demons out there. I know they're out there, and I can't shut them off. And so I got to drink. So after 11 years active duty in the Marine Corps, I got out of the Marine Corps. And I became a police officer here in Southern California. What, do you got a problem with that? Maybe you need to put your hands on the wall and spread them. Newcomers go, what? It's just a mini inventory you can do right now before your sponsor tells you to do one. But I became a police officer here in Southern California. I can't tell my partner in the police car there's demons in the alleys and I'm afraid of the dark. And he knows I'm a Vietnam vet and I'm a hero and I got all these medals and I can't tell him about my secrets. Before I go to work, I drink. Drinking takes the fear away. I'm not afraid of anything when I drink. Only thing is now when you scare me, I get violent. I was a violent police officer in the city I worked in and I'm not proud of that. Because of Alcoholics Anonymous and the amends, I get to go in these institutions once in a while and I speak in there and I tell those guys what I used to be like. I tell them what I'm trying to be like today and that Alcoholics Anonymous works. And I've got to clean up that stuff. But while I'm a cop, I got married again and we had a kid and then my wife got pregnant. And I don't feel like a man. I still got to be validated, so I started to have an affair with my partner. I have a female partner now. And doesn't matter to me what your preference is, I don't care. But mine's female. I have a female partner and we're having an affair. And she found out I got my wife pregnant and she took offense to that. And she shot me. What the hell are you clapping for? All right, all fun and games, huh? All you guys that want to date the women in this group because they're foxy and shit, everybody that laughed and clapped because that woman shot me, I would not date that person. Because if they own a gun and you screw up, they'll put a cap in your ass. I'm going to tell you that right now. So you better evaluate what you're going to do around here. They will shoot you. It's all fun and games till you get shot. And then it's fun and games with a head wound. She shot me in the head. And I thought rather than get gunned down in a police car, I'd resign, and so I did. And I got a real estate license. I heard a lot about money, property, and prestige tonight. If you think money will fix alcoholism, if you're an alcoholic of my type, money doesn't fix it. Money don't take away desperation. Money doesn't take away rage and anxiety. Doesn't take away depression. Doesn't take away any of those things, because I made a ton of money. I bought a house on a 1/4 acre and put a 3-hole putting green in and a swimming pool and paid cash for 2 new Cadillacs, and my kids wore designer clothes. I wore gold chains and diamond pinky rings and gold nugget bracelets. Shit, I had a Mr. T starter kit before that dude ever was on TV. It didn't fix my alcoholism. And at the age of 36 years old, I stood there one day and looked around, and everything I'd worked all my life to get was gone. My wife and kids were gone, the house, the cars, the jewelry, the clothes. Everything I owned was in a cardboard box in the back seat of a stolen car. And that's a hell of a note for a former police officer, and I ended up homeless on the streets. I ended up passing blood when I went to the bathroom. I got very sick. A woman I'd worked real estate with seen me one day on the street. She took me to her home, cleaned me up, and took me to a doctor. I don't know why. That doctor gave me a physical, and they let me go, and I went back out doing what I'm doing in Simi Valley behind the Sportsman's Lounge. When they got the results in, she found me again and she took me back to the doctor, and that doctor set me down and he said, Frank, he says, you're addicted to alcohol the way a heroin addict is to heroin. If you don't stop drinking, you're going to die before summer. You have cirrhosis of the liver and a hole in your throat from vomiting all the time. And if you don't stop drinking, you're done. And when that man told me I was going to die, what overwhelmed me was relief, because I'm tired. It ain't easy ruining your life and everybody's life that's ever had any contact with you. And I shook that man's hand and I thanked him, and I left his office, and the money they gave me to eat on, I got a fifth of whiskey and a case of beer. And I drank as hard and as fast as I could. And to make a long story short, my parents found out I was dying on the streets. I wouldn't take care of myself, and my parents had me committed. They had me strapped down in a hospital, and I was pissed, because I don't know why. I'm not an alcoholic. This is the only disease in the world that will kill you, and your head will give you reasons you don't have to go to meetings. You don't have to work these steps. You don't have to listen to a sponsor. You don't have to do anything here except come in here, suck the life out of it, and leave. If you're an alcoholic of my type, that ain't how it works. They pump me full of vitamin B and magnesium and help with the withdrawal. Some of them I remember, some of them I don't. When they unstrapped me to that bed, they threw me in a van and took me to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I walked in, there was a bunch of losers in there like you people, doing all the same crap you're doing tonight. Everybody's hugging everybody and kissing and shit and shaking hands. And, I looked at you and, just like tonight, all the ladies are clean and their hair's done and their makeup's on, and the guys are sitting here in clean clothes and looking good. And what I did is I judged you. And I realized you couldn't have done the things I had done and look as good as you look. You couldn't have done the killing and burning I did in Vietnam, abusing 2 wives and 4 kids, the crap I did when I was a cop, disrespecting my parents, shoplift, all the crap I'd done all my life. And you guys said, Frank, get your coffee, shut up and sit down. Go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Go to AA if you want to drink. And I thought, don't tell me, I'll rip your throat out. And you said, no, there's too many of us. Rip a seat and shut up. Have respect for Alcoholics Anonymous. Sit down, shut up, and listen. And I left that meeting and I hated you. And I come back the next night and I had misjudged you. I realized that. You hadn't made the money I made. You didn't have the cars, the houses, the young women, the diamonds, the jewelry. You're a bunch of losers. And you guys looked at me and said, Frank, you ain't got any of that shit. Now you're homeless. Get your coffee, shut up, and sit down. Go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Go to AA if you want to drink. And I got to tell you that if you're an alcoholic of my type, what happened to me might happen to you if you don't plug into this deal called AA. If you don't get yourself a sponsor, not somebody that will talk to you about your issues. There ain't, in that big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there ain't shit in there about writing about your issues. And you can't show me anywhere in there that it says to write about how you feel. It says do a fearless and thorough moral inventory. Get a sponsor that'll get you involved in AA because it'll save your life. Get commitments to the meetings and sit in the front and have respect and shut up and listen during the meetings. If you don't do those things, what happened to me, because I didn't, might happen to you. I walked out of that hospital and I stood out there and I cried, and all the things I had done all my life came down and started sitting on my chest. I haven't had a desire to take a drink in over 28 years. But standing outside that hospital crying and remembering every dirty, rotten thing I've ever done was choking me out. And I wanted to commit suicide. Where do you go when you want to take your own life? Where do you go when you look down that tunnel and there ain't no light at the end? Where do you go when you have no hope? Where do you go when you haven't made a friend that you can talk to and tell the truth to? Where do you go if you don't have a sponsor to give you a little bit of direction to help you with life? Where do you go when you don't know anything about these 12 steps or 12 traditions? Where do you go when the only thing you think in the world is cool is you? Where do you go when you think you got it all under control and you're special? What happened to me might happen to you. I came back to California, found my wife and kids in Oregon. We moved into a garage not attached to a house, just a garage in the middle of a 6-acre field. We slept on the floor. I had 2 daughters and a wife. We ate block bologna and government cheese, and when we had cereal, my kids put water on it, and I didn't go to AA. I don't need you. I'm a tough guy. I don't need a sponsor. I don't need meetings. I don't need to follow any rules. I don't need anything, and I don't need you or God or anything else. And at 6 months without a drink of alcohol and no meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm driving a stolen car on the Hollywood freeway with a 45. I'm looking for work. I have to feed those kids. And I'm honking at this guy to get out of the fast lane, and he won't get out of the fast lane. Now, that probably doesn't bother you people here. That aggravates the hell out of me when I'm driving and people ain't doing what I want them to do. And I rear-ended the guy, and I chased him off the freeway. When he stopped, I got out of my car with the .45. I walked up and put it in the window of his car, and I said, "You ever drive that slow again, I'll kill you." I didn't want a bourbon of water. I wanted to take that man's life. Where do you go when your life is running out your sleeve and you have no help? Where do you go when you don't have a sponsor to call or a friend to call that can get you off the ledge? What happened to me might happen to you. At 10 months without a drink of alcohol and no meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm a tough guy. I know there's a tough guy in here tonight that thinks I'm full of crap. I'm a tough guy. I'm standing in Alpha Beta buying me Pepsi and cigarettes. I'm not buying my children milk for their cereal. I'm a taker. I've been a taker all my life. I'm always selfish. I'm always going to get mine first. My head says I'm a good father. My actions say something else. And I'm standing there getting mine, and it says 10 items or less, cash only. My head said, count this woman's items. And by the time I counted her crap, she had about 13 items. Now, that probably don't aggravate you folks here in Beverly Hills. That aggravates the hell out of me. And I'm standing there ready to launch. I'm angry. And she broke a checkbook out. And I said, "You can't write a check in this line. It says cash, lady. Read the sign." And she smiled and said, "I'll be through in a minute, Sonny." I said, "My name ain't Sonny. I'm not Sonny right this minute. And you ain't writing a check." And when I get angry, I got to touch you. And I took her eggs and milk and shit. I threw that shit all over Alpha Beta. Now, that'll get 4 large sheriffs called on you. I didn't want a pina colada right then. I wanted to rip her blue wig off. I hated that old broad. That won't happen to you. Don't worry about it. Don't do nothing in AA. 13 months without a drink. I'm standing in an office trying to interview for a job, and a guy walks by and said, "Hey, Frank, how you doing, partner?" I said, "That's a personal question. Why are you prying into my private life?" I said, "I'll tell you how I'm doing. I don't want anybody to hear this crap." And I grabbed that dummy by the throat, jerked him on a desk, started choking him, saying, "How do you think I'm feeling right now?" I had a nervous breakdown. That won't happen to you. Don't worry about it. You're a lot more strong and willpower than I've ever had. I was only a sniper and shit in the Marine Corps. Don't worry about it. And I got to tell you how God works in my life, and I don't believe in it. Active member of my home group in that office that day, they walked in and pulled my fingers off his throat, laid a card down, said, "You need to go see him." They took me back to the garage, sent my wife and kids to his house with his wife and kids, and I was there for about a week or 10 days. I don't remember them at all. And then they took me down and set me down in this man's office. What that man told me that day has saved my life and my sanity up to and including tonight. This is what he said. He said, "Frank, you ain't had a drink in over 13 months. Right this minute, drinking is not your problem. You have a living problem, and you better find a living answer to that living problem, and you'll probably find it in meetings of AA." He said, "There's a group of people that's walked down that path before you got there. Fall in behind them and do the things they're doing." He didn't say bring the body and the mind will follow. Your mind ain't going to follow you into an AA meeting at all. That ain't going to happen. He told me to get commitments. He said, "We got enough people in AA that just suck the life out of the meeting and skip out." He said, "Do something to help the meeting. Pay for your sobriety with your labor in the meetings." He said, "Get a higher power." And I said, "I don't believe in God." And he said, "Whoever hangs the moon out and takes it down, pray to them." He said, "Sit up in the front and listen. Shut up and have respect for Alcoholics Anonymous. It's going to save your life." And I started coming to the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I started watching you people. You started telling me to go home and tell my wife and kids I loved them. And I said, "I don't love them. I don't even know who the hell they are. I got sober and they just appeared." And you said, "You lied to them for 10 years before this. Go lie to them some more." And I told them I loved them over and over again. And one day I went home and told them I loved them, and something funny happened. I loved them. I don't know what program they'd been going to. They had changed. What I got out of that exercise right there is when I get direction from my sponsor, I don't have to think it'll work. I don't have to analyze it. I don't have to believe it'll work. I don't have to think anything. I just got to get off my butt and go do it. I've never been told to do anything in Alcoholics Anonymous that's hurt me. Everything I've been guided to do in AA has benefited my life. It's helped quiet my head and calm my stomach. It allows me to live outside these rooms with a little bit of self-respect and some dignity sometimes. Bad things happen in sobriety, and I know I got to shut up because you folks got to get home and worry. But my father died when I was 9 years sober, and I loved my dad, and I was sober. I went back and put my 9-year medallion in his pocket before they lowered him into the ground, and he and I had a relationship because of AA. My daughters have grown up. The one that I almost shot, she's general counsel for a medical corporation. She's successful in spite of me, not because of me. I'm not a good father. But I let her make her own decisions and be the lady she wants to be, and she had AA as an example, and that's what she's doing, and she named her grandson after me when she had him. My middle daughter has a master's and teaches 5th grade, and she just got married 2.5, 3 years ago, and I walked her down the aisle, and I'm still self-obsessed. We're walking down the aisle, and this old queen about 80 leans out and says, "You look beautiful, darling." I leaned over and said, "Thank you." My daughter says she's talking to me, Dad. I said, "I know, But I love my kids, and I have a relationship with them because of Alcoholics Anonymous. My youngest daughter graduated college, didn't want to go to school anymore, and said she's going to take her second choice, and she's a police officer in Los Angeles. And I'm proud of my daughter. And she made her own decisions. And I told her partner when I met him, she's been there about 5 years now, if my daughter ever gets injured and I get called to the hospital, when I get there, you need to be injured too, even if it's self-inflicted. My brother got sober in my house. He had 17 years, 10 months. He got a rare disease and he died. He was a good man. He died sober. 4 days later, my mom died. All I did is go to meetings, talk to newcomers, because Alcoholics Anonymous works. Nothing's going to happen to you in your life ever that somebody here hasn't been through that can help you get through it. A drink, a pill, a fix, a shot, or anything else ain't the answer. If you're new or used tonight, you don't have to remember anything I've said because it don't mean nothing to anybody in here. My life don't mean nothing to you people. What you need to remember was read to you tonight, and I hope that you were quiet enough to hear it, because I think it's the most important line in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous if you listen to it. The first line of chapter 5. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Thanks.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out. in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.